Help me hit 7,000 subscribers. Support the video with a like and leave your thoughts in the comments. I read everyone. Thank you. I'm Alden, 37, the kind of man who wakes up before his alarm and likes the quiet before the world starts moving. My wife, Marissa, used to love those mornings with me. Back when we cared about the same things. Back when we were still a team. But somewhere along the way, the space between us grew, slowly at first, then sharply, like a crack in glass spreading until the whole thing feels fragile. The night before everything happened, Marissa didn't come home. It wasn't the first time, but it was the first time I didn't stay awake waiting. Instead, I sat in the kitchen with the soft hum of the refrigerator, watching the steam lift from my mug. The house felt less like a home and more like a waiting room, just a place where things paused until she decided what version of herself she wanted to be that day. At 8 in the morning, I heard the front door slam against the wall. Her footsteps were uneven, a slow drag and then a stumble. The unmistakable scent of cheap vodka hit the air before she did. Marissa walked in, hair a tangled mess, mascara smudged like dark bruises beneath her eyes. She didn't even look at me at first. She just kicked off her shoes and muttered something under her breath. Then she finally glanced up, and her eyes narrowed. "What?" she snapped. "Don't give me that face." "I didn't say anything," I replied quietly. "You're thinking things," she shot back. "You always think things. You want a play-by-play of my night? Don't ask me stupid questions. It's none of your business where I was." Once upon a time I might have tried to calm her, to explain I was just worried, that I wasn't trying to control her. But that morning, I didn't feel anger, or panic, or even disappointment. I felt a done. Like a man who finally stopped swimming against a current that was never going to let him breathe. She kept walking toward the kitchen, and then she froze mid-step. Her eyes landed on the person sitting on my lap. Lena, my niece, 21, bright-eyed, soft-spoken, visiting for the weekend because she'd just gone through a messy breakup and needed somewhere quiet to stay. She was wearing an oversized sweatshirt, feet curled up, sipping coffee from Marissa's favorite pale blue mug, the one with the chipped rim she always insisted on using. Marissa's face went from irritation to shock so fast that for a moment I thought she might faint. Her lips parted, then closed again, like she was struggling to form a thought. What is this?" she demanded, voice trembling as confusion replaced her drunken bravado. Lena blinked at her, surprised. "Morning, Aunt Marissa. I didn't know you were." Marissa cut her off with a sharp gesture. "Get off him." Lena looked at me as if to ask if she should move. I gently helped her off my lap and she took the mug with her, stepping aside but staying close enough that she wasn't abandoning me to the storm brewing in front of us. Marissa's eyes darted between us, anger igniting as she tried to piece together a story that fit her suspicions. "You brought someone here?" she hissed. "Some girl drinking from my cup? Sitting on your lap?" "She's family," I said calmly. "You know that." "I don't know anything right now," she exploded. Her. What is going on?" Her voice cracked in a way I hadn't heard in years. It wasn't anger anymore. It was fear wrapped in jealousy, twisted with something deeper. Maybe guilt, maybe insecurity, maybe the realization that she wasn't the only one capable of leaving someone confused and hurt. Before I could answer, she took a step forward, raising her hand as if to grab the mug from Lena or shove something off the counter. I couldn't tell. But then something happened. Something none of us could have imagined. The front door opened again, and in walked a man I'd never seen before. Tall, early 30s, wearing a wrinkled hoodie and the unmistakable look of someone who had not slept. He stopped cold when he saw Marissa, eyes widening like he'd walked into his own worst nightmare. "Marissa?" he said softly. She went completely pale, like someone had drained the color straight out of her bones. My heart thudded once. Heavy, slow, because I knew instantly, whatever she'd been hiding, whoever this man was, he was the missing piece of a story I hadn't even knew I'd been living inside. Marissa didn't move. She didn't blink. She stood frozen in the center of the kitchen like someone had hit pause on her entire body. The man at the door, whoever he was, looked just as shocked to see her as she was to see him. Lena stepped closer to me, clutching the coffee mug like a shield, her eyes wide as she tried to understand who this stranger was and why he had just walked into our morning like a wrecking ball. The man swallowed hard and repeated himself. Marissa, you weren't supposed to leave. We were still talking. The word landed like a stone dropped into still water. Every ripple it created spread through the room, hitting each of us with a different kind of impact. My voice came out steady. Who are you? He looked at me as if he'd only just realized I existed. I'm Nolan. The name didn't mean anything to me, but the expression on Marissa's face said everything. Her eyes darted toward the floor, then toward Nolan, then toward me. She was trapped, and the walls around her were closing in. I told you not to come here, she whispered, her voice shaky and stripped of the confidence she had used to lash out at me minutes earlier. Nolan stepped inside, slowly, like approaching a wild animal he wasn't sure would bite or bolt. You weren't answering your phone. I thought something happened. He stopped talking when he noticed my wedding photos on the hallway wall. His shoulders tightened with a kind of dawning horror. Oh, he hadn't known. That much was painfully clear. Marissa squeezed her eyes shut and pressed her fingers to her temples. This isn't what it looks like, she muttered, as if the sentence had any power left. It looks, I said quietly, like you brought a stranger into our life and didn't bother telling either of us who he is. Nolan winced at the word stranger. Look, man, I didn't know she was married, she said. He stopped himself, glancing toward Marissa with an expression that made me feel something sour twist in my gut. She didn't exactly explain the situation clearly. Marissa's voice cracked. Alden, just listen. Are you serious? Lena blurted out. Aunt Marissa, what did you do? Her tone wasn't accusatory. It was heartbroken. Lena had always looked up to Marissa, the aunt who bought her cute dresses, gave her makeup advice, and told her not to settle for anyone who made her feel small. Now the betrayal stung her too. Marissa turned toward her with pleading eyes. Lena, sweetheart, this isn't. Don't, Lena whispered, stepping back. Don't call me that right now. Silence fell like dust. Nolan shifted awkwardly, rubbing the back of his neck. I should go, he muttered. I didn't come here to cause trouble. No, I said, surprising even myself. Stay. If you walked into my home thinking something happened to her, you deserve at least the truth. Marissa's voice rose again, frantic. Alden, stop it. Don't make a scene. But she'd already made one. Just not the one she intended. Fine, she said, lifting her chin in shaky defiance. You want the truth? I've been confused. I've been unhappy. I didn't know how to say it. Nolan is someone I met through friends and we talked, and it wasn't supposed to be anything serious. I didn't think that I'd find out? I asked. That he'd show up here? Lena added. That I walked into a marriage? Nolan said bitterly. The room couldn't hold the weight of all the truths falling out at once. And then it got worse. Marissa's phone buzzed loudly on the counter. A message preview flashed on the screen. Did you get home safe? Last night was incredible. Red heart. It wasn't Nolan. It wasn't anyone we recognized. 3 hearts, 3 people, 3 separate claims on a single woman who suddenly looked like she might fall apart at the seams. Nolan stepped back as if he'd been punched. There's someone else? Marissa covered her face with both hands. Please, just stop. But the dam had already broken. I felt a strange calm wash over me. Not anger, not sadness, just clarity. The kind that feels like finally stepping out of a fog you didn't realize you'd been living inside. I turned to Nolan. I'm sorry you got pulled into this. He nodded, swallowing hard. I didn't know. I swear. I believe you. Then I looked at Lena, her eyes bright with unshed tears. Go get your things. Okay? We're leaving. She nodded, rushing upstairs without another word. Marissa finally dropped her hands, mascara streaking down her cheeks, lips trembling. Alden, please, don't do this. You stumbled in at 8 in the morning. I said softly. Told me it was none of my business where you were. You were right, Marissa. It hasn't been my business for a long time. She reached out, but I stepped back. Nolan backed toward the door, giving me a quiet nod of apology, then slipped out into the morning light. Marissa stood in the middle of the kitchen, shaking, broken in a way I couldn't fix anymore. Lena came back downstairs with her bag, slipping her hand into mine like she used to when she was little. We walked out together. Behind us, Marissa let out a soft, crumbling sound. A sound of realization hitting too late, like a door closing she never thought would shut. And maybe the most unexpected part was this. Not one of us looked back.